On this episode of One-on-One, we're going to talk with the president of E.D. White, Tim Robichaux. You might recall we had his father on some 20 years ago, so it will be an interesting discussion. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with Tim Robichaux. Don't go away. One-on-One is brought to you by the law office of Waits and Downer. I've often found that presidents of schools or universities, they got to be able to tolerate A personalities on a daily basis.
Yes.
And I'll say it, we all know football coaches are A personalities.
Yes.
But without the A personalities, something doesn't function. You need those A personalities to drive the train.
You do.
But you need someone with a temperament to tell them, okay, the train needs to stop for a second.
Right.
Refuel, reload.
Right.
We need to take another route. We need to
Right.
do this. How are you able to do? Y'all have had some pretty good coaches at E.D.
We have. What's interesting though, Martin, is the president, my position is a little different than the principal's position. So the principal, really runs the school.
Right.
Obviously I have input and we work together. But you do have to work with a lot of different personalities. And if you all have the same goals, and again, that goes back to the brothers and the sisters of setting us up to what is our mission here? And our mission is to impart the Catholic faith. And, that is very important in our mission. So if we're all on the same boat, you take these different personalities and you put them together and it works.
So Michelle deals with the temperaments, and you're more is it more of a fundraising type?
Well, I do. Obviously, I deal with the money, which, in a Catholic school, a private school, the money is important.
Your accounting background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think about this often. We're asking our parents to pay an awful lot of money to come to our school. And so we want to make sure we're spending that money in the right way. Now, I like to explain it this way. Michel Chasson, the principal, is worried about today. I'm more worried about tomorrow. So I have to deal with alumni, fundraising, giving the teachers and what they need in the way of technology, dealing with the public, making sure our school is following its mission. So without both of those parts, you really need both of those parts. And if they work together, you can have great success.
Now the transition. How did you go from band director
I'm glad you asked me that.
David Boudreaux did the same thing.
Well, and he was very involved in all of this, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both band directors. David Boudreaux is the one who asked me, when I was doing the working with the band, I was also at a hobby, making websites. And at the time, you didn't have the programs to be able to allow you just to kind of plug it in. You had to learn the code.
Yeah, you had to build it.
So I built a website for the band, and it was pretty good, and I enjoyed it because you could put pictures, and at the time you really couldn't put movies and stuff, but it gave a lot of information. It was something kind of new, and David Boudreaux loved technology. And so he says, Tim, you think you could do a web page for E.D. White?
You sound just like him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said, well, yeah. He says, just make me the front page, the home page of what it would look like. So again, it's a hobby. I was having fun. So I learned how to do it. I did it and I presented it to him. He says, do you want to come work at E.D. White? I was like, what do you mean? And I was still at Allstate. He said, you could teach a computer science class. You could teach web design, HTML, which is the language. You could teach that, and the class could manage the website. So I did that. That's how I kind of got my foot in the door with David Boudreaux. So going along, he's the one that hired me as a band director, and he's the one that trusted that I was the right one for the job. Like I told you, I was extremely happy. All three of my children went through the band. I was a band director. We did a lot of things. We played at Carnegie Hall, went to Disney. We were very successful. And about 7 years, I was at that position about 15 years, 14 years. Mm-hmm. Along the way, he said, what do you think about, being an administrator one day? I said, David, I did the managing of people. I'm loving this. I have no real intention of doing that. He says, well, just don't completely close the door.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
As time went on, I started to lose a little energy with the high school band director. And I'm gonna tell you, it's like a head football coach. Mm-hmm. It is a very, very difficult job, very difficult. And so it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it, but I wasn't quite enjoying it as much. Come 12, 13 years, he's still asking me, well, the brothers have a 5-year training program called Quandra Leadership Program. They're geniuses for setting this up because all of the administrators go through it. And thus, we have a full sense of what it feels to be a brother school.
There weren't enough brothers
to
go around.
They knew 30 years ago there wasn't going to be enough. Yeah. So they did. So he says, why don't you look? You don't have to decide you want to do it. Why don't you just get in this program? Well, one of the first things you do is you go to Lyon, France, which is where the brothers started for 17 days. And you learn about where they started, where it all happened. Of course, same kind of thing. I go there and I have this revelation like, man, this is real. Like, so I still came back saying, look, I'm going to just stay what I'm doing. Well, things were going along and he kept asking. So I got into the program. I have a mentor. One of the brothers was my mentor for 3 years. So I got to meet with him monthly, learn about the brothers in detail. Mm-hmm. One day he tells me, I'm thinking about going to Vanderbilt to be the president of Vanderbilt. But I'm not going unless you're the president of E.D. White. It's like, whoa. He says, would you want to do that? And I immediately said yes. And it wasn't even something that was in my mind, but when I thought back of it, I felt like I was the perfect person because I had the business background. We deal a lot with money and numbers and stuff. 20 years in the business world, 14 years as an educator. So I said, well, maybe I am the right person to do the job. And sure enough, the Lord led me that way and ended up being the president of E.D. White. And I absolutely love that job too. Now, it took me a little while to get it from the band, but I love it.
But don't you think, and this just may be my perception, temperament at a private Catholic school of the president is different than temperament at a TV station, at a car dealership,
Yes.
To me, you have the perfect temperament for E.D. White. Did that ever cross your mind?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
A little bit, but you're right. You have to, first of all, have a positive attitude and you have to love people. If you're in education, you have to love people because we deal with young people, but we also deal with parents. And in a private school, you deal with supporters. And the community. I mean, Thibodaux and in Vanderbilt too are such large parts of the community.
But Thibodaux, I can say this because I was born in Thibodaux, so nobody can get mad at me. It's an older community.
It is.
I say older because it's tight-knit. Everybody wants to say so, and you got to maneuver through a lot of very important, powerful people.
You do. A lot of people stay in Thibodaux. And I don't know Houma that well. I did work here for 14 years. But I think there's more people coming in and out with the oil industry and different things like that. With Thibodaux, it's more of a residential, you have the university there. You have some people from the river that live in Thibodaux, but it goes way back, so families stay there. And so I guess the fact that my dad graduated from Thibodaux College, and I went to E.D. White, and I'm from Thibodaux, and my great grandfather is Henry Schuyler Thibodaux, believe it or not.
Wow.
My great my great grandfather married Brigitte Thibodeau, who was
Well,
the granddaughter
You've got
of.
to be related to Lonnie Thibodeau.
I did not know Lonnie
His
was.
great grandfather was Henry Scholar Thibodeau.
I did not know this, so this is awesome. I can't wait to call him. When I
6
leave here, I'm going
degrees
to
of
call him.
separation.
But anyway, I have a lot of ties to Thibodeau. You know, and my dad was a large fixture in Thibodeau. He loved the history of Thibodeau. He did the Tidbits article in the Daily Comment. I don't know if you
Larger
remember
than
that.
life.
And, he was. What a great guy. And he was so into the history of Thibodeau that I learned a lot from him. It's a little bit of a hobby now for me as well. I love the history of Thibodeau and of E.D. White. But what it has done, it has allowed E.D. White to flourish because the support from the community is unbelievable. And it's better than ever, I have to say.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. You have all these responsibilities, but you have a music background, so you can be a great one to ask this question. When you've had a rough day or you have a fundraiser and you're trying to put things together and you go, what a crazy day. You hit the light switch in your office, you get in your car. What would be the favorite song that would just
ease my mind?
Yep.
Come Sail Away from Styx.
Wow.
I answered that pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, you did.
I love the 70s music. So I have Sirius XM,
Great
right?
song,
and
too.
the 70s on 7 is, except for Christmas season, 70s on 7 is on in my car all the time.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I think maybe it just brings back good memories. I think I might have been a sophomore or junior in high school when this. Maybe it's when I met my wife, perhaps. I'm just thinking about that now.
Yeah.
That song, for some reason, just resonates. I haven't actually put it on in a while. It made me think of it.
It is a great tune. And
It is.
I didn't realize you were a rocker, though. Styx, you know?
I love Styx. Styx,
Yeah.
Of course, those 70s.
Oreo
Styx,
Speedwagon.
Journey. I went to see Styx and Oreo Speedwagon in concert with my son, so I introduced him to that 70s style of music.
Now, Styx plays in the same key as Oreo Speedwagon?
Uh,
Sometimes they lower those keys
a little
to
bit,
get through, you know?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you'd be familiar with that.
Oh, absolutely.
See, only a guy like you in the audience could go,
right.
all right.
He's changing keys.
Changing
Lowering
keys
it, yes.
so he could hit the note.
Absolutely.
Everybody else is, what?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
They're going crazy. You sort of realize now your life has been I don't say hodgepodge in a bad way, but you were redirected several times to get you back to E.D. White.
Absolutely.
Coincidence?
I love the way you said coincidence because that's one of my hobbies too, coincidences. Because I talk about this with students. I'm teaching a business class right now, believe it or not, which I absolutely love. But I think all of us have these moments where we move in different directions. And what I tell students is you must just remain open to what God is calling you to do. Because if you think about where I was, I went into accounting in the business world, and to end up, kind of where I am now, I guess fits, but that middle section of being a band director, I was always just open to what God had in store for me. And man, I have had a blessed life.
No doubt.
Family.
Who was the toughest teacher you ever had?
Brother Linus. Brother Linus.
You didn't hesitate there either.
Toughest teacher, however, best teacher. He's the Teacher of the Year award at E.D. White is named after Brother Linus. Yeah. He was a math teacher, and he is the epitome of what a teacher is. He would have he had odd and even notebooks. So one night you would do the homework in the odd notebook. You would go to class the next day, turn it in. The next night you do it in the even notebook. When you would come back the next day, he would give you the odd notebook back, corrected. So every night he corrected homework, which I didn't realize it at the time, but as an educator, I realized, man, this guy was so dedicated, and he would not let you fail. if you were having issues, you would take that test again and again, and you would go in the morning. And what a great educator he was.
What if Mr. Raul Prado did not make that phone call? Where would you be right now? Metairie?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I really think I was at Allstate, and I loved Allstate. It was a very difficult job, I will say that, though, because I was dealing in heavy bodily injuries, going to court a good bit. Yeah. It was not, and when you have a settlements and insurance claims, nobody's happy.
Right.
The insurance company's not happy because they feel like they're paying too much. The person you're paying is still like that now. People don't feel like I'm not getting.
You're lucky there wasn't an Ida.
You're right. Well, you did have Andrew. I was there when Andrew hit.
That's true, 92.
So it wasn't the same, but it was close. But that was a very tough job to be in. And so I feel like it did prepare me for what I was going to do later, because I felt like I was a good teacher because I dealt with a lot of serious stuff, so I could deal with that. But God has put me in the right places to succeed.
Listening to your story, it's incredible. You know, let me ask you this: if I went to your wife and kids, if I was able to get your parents in the room, if I was able, got Michelle, who I'm trying to get on one-on-one.
Yeah, well, good. You should.
Got Michelle on, got David Boudreaux on. And I said, all right, got Preston Lejeune, Boyd Hebert.
Mm-hmm.
We could
work with them all.
Go down the line. I said, y'all got to come up with one word to describe Tim Robichaux. What would you hope that one word would be?
Optimistic.
Yeah.
And I say that word because my dad instilled that positivity in me. So in any situation, I always find what's the good in this, and I hope, and it makes you a nicer person, kinder, more loving when you're optimistic. And I would hope that they would think that everything, and I think that's what helps me in my job now, is just because a lot of things happen. The whole COVID thing as an educator was a big deal, but remaining optimistic as what can we learn from this? Has been a big part of
so
making me happy.
Optimism got you through many forks in the road.
Yes.
Allstate, E.D. White.
Yep.
President, just along the way, COVID, Ida, damage to the school. So many forks in the road. Optimism got you through?
Absolutely. Remain in my faith, of course, my faith. But optimism is part of that, and God has taught us that you be faithful, and just I will be there for you, and He certainly has for E.D. White, definitely.
Tim, I want to thank you for the job you've done. You've been a great asset to
Thank you.
I'll say to E.D. White, but to the community. It all spreads. It all spreads out. People move around and do different things, and thank you for having the temperament and the wisdom to make good choices. And a lot of students are blessed because you made some pretty good choices.
Thank you, Marty.
We thank you for being here.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.